Okay, so in today's video, we are going to check out Quant's price chart and see what is going on there. But before that, we are going to talk about what is happening in the short term in this chart, QNT relative to BTC. And based on it, I'm going to tell you what are my expectations for QNT in the short term. So with that said, hi everyone, welcome back. I hope you are having a great time with your family and loved ones. And let's just dive into it and see what is happening. And if you want to argue that your final low is in, maybe right around this area, let's say this is support. Okay, off of it, you need to be able to find a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 wave up. This is a normal 5 wave. Now, we can also have other kinds of 5 waves. And in this specific example, I want to talk to you about a leading diagonal in form of a wedge, which looks like this. This is our initial move up into 1, and it has to be the biggest wave in this structure. Correction for 2, another move up into wave 3. It must be smaller than wave 1, correction for 4. In here, unlike a normal 5 wave, we must have, again, very important point, we must have overlapping of the waves between wave 2 and 4, and also wave 4 must be smaller than wave 2, and this is our final move on the upside into wave 5, which has to be the smallest wave. And for our sub waves, 5 up into wave 1, 3, and 5. Let's change the colors to red so you can see it a bit better. Okay. And for wave 2 and 4, if you 100% want to go according to the rules, you need to say that both of them have to be ABCs. This is very important. Just if you want to go according to the rules, you have to say that. For me, it doesn't really matter that much. And as long as all the other rules are applying to our structure being a leading diagonal in form of a wedge, I can actually be okay with having a WXY into one of our corrections. Doesn't really matter. Now let's go on the live chart and see what is happening. And if I want to force myself to find an impulsive structure in here in order for me to be able to say the final low is in, I think this is going to be my best shot. This might be a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to about here into a wave 1, and then from this high to about, I think this point, this might be an A, B, C flat into wave 2, followed by that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 wave up into wave 3, and in this case, I'm going to ignore this shadow right in here and say this is a correction for 4, another move on the upside into wave 5, and I have checked the rules. They do kind of apply to this structure being a wedge. Now, on a higher degree, if this scenario is in play, okay, this can be a wave 1, correction for 2, and after this correction is over, we can expect a good move on the upside into wave 3, 4, 5 in this chart, which means we may enter a period of time which in it QNT is going to outperform Bitcoin. So this is our bullish scenario at the moment. Is it going to be my primary case? Unfortunately, I'm going to tell you, based on the current evidence that I'm seeing, again, this is just based on what is happening in this area. The answer is no. This is at the moment my alternate possibility. My primary case suggests that this is a correction structure on the upside starting from here and probably ending to about this point, or maybe even a bit higher. It's not really that important. And if the end of our correction is going to be in here, I think we can very safely say this is a WXY in form of a double zigzag, and we are going to have soon another move down in this chart in order to take the lowest low down here, which means QNT in the short term can actually underperform BTC, meaning, for example, in Bitcoin, if you're going to see like a 5 to 10% move down, that move down is going to cause a much stronger of a move on the downside in QNT. Now, I said based on the current evidence that I'm seeing, this bearish possibility is going to be my primary case. Why is that? You see, this is a very slow and choppy move up. Let's just compare it timing wise. How long did it take for us to have this move to about this high? As you can see, about 420 candlesticks. On the other hand, in the same period of time, as you can see, we actually had this big move down starting from this high right in here to about the lowest low. So to me, this suggests bulls, at least at the moment in this chart, are probably not really in control, and we can expect another move on the downside. Also, in this area, I think we can identify a very classic ascending channel right in here. Sorry about that one. Let's just take this one. Okay. There we go. And let's just adjust the lines. Sorry about that. Okay, something like this. And as you can see, what is happening right now, it seems like that this may have been our initial break. We got a pullback, and now we may continue this move on the downside, which again, once more suggests in QNT, we are probably not going to see some strong price action soon. And also in here, we are constantly having overlapping of the waves between our pullbacks, which is definitely a bearish sign. So what's the point that I'm trying to make? I'm trying to tell you, for now, we can expect Quant to kind of underperform BTC. And if in Bitcoin, we are going to have a move down, at that point in QNT, we can expect a stronger of a move on the downside. And that doesn't really help any kind of bullish case that we can possibly have in this area. And you already know what I'm about to say. This move up in QNT, for now at least, is kind of slow and choppy. And it seems like that we are really struggling to get back above this important level and then consolidate above it and get another move up. If we do this, okay, that's going to be a great sign. But as long as I'm not seeing it, I'm going to be a bit patient and also a bit careful, because in here we are just constantly having overlapping of the waves between our pullbacks, which is a characteristic of a corrective movement. And sure, if you insist on being optimistic in the short term and say the final low is in right in here about $66.50, okay, I guess you can still say this is an A correction for wave B to about now this point, and we may have another move down into wave C once more in form of a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, which means overall this is a flat structure, maybe into wave 2, and then we can have a good move up into wave 3, 4, 5. You can argue that, but again, based on what I'm seeing, which are just basically a slow and choppy moves, this scenario is going to be my alternate case. My primary case suggests in Quant, we may see in the short term another move down, and then that will probably it. And this move on the downside for me is going to be a magnificent buying opportunity. Sure, get a strong move up and get back above this important level with absolute authority. Okay, at that point, you are going to see me changing my tone in a heartbeat in Quant. But for now, I think it's a bit too soon to talk about that kind of scenarios. And I'm not really a big fan of this, but I saw some people saying that maybe in Quant, this might be like a head and shoulder structure, a bearish pattern suggesting we may see another move on the downside once we get a break of the neckline, which is, I think they said it's like this. Yeah, I think so. And if you want to go according to this pattern, okay, you need to measure the height of it starting from this high to about here. There we go. And that will give you about like a $68 Quant. And I think they actually talked about a triple top in here and not a head and shoulder structure. Sorry about that one. One way or the other, I'm going to tell you, if we go down in QNT, I don't think it's going to be because of this pattern. Sure, this is definitely not a good sign, but I do not believe that we are having a head and shoulder or maybe a triple top in here, because these patterns happen at the end of a very solid uptrend. However, this is definitely not an uptrend. This is just a very small short-term bounce. So the overall picture for me in Quant is still in the mid to long term, absolutely optimistic and bullish. But in the short term, I'm going to argue we need to be a bit patient and careful. And I hope I explained everything well and you understood what is going on in Quant's price chart. Anyway, if you found any value in my content, I would really appreciate if you like this video and consider subscribing to my channel and follow me on Twitter. And if you want more, maybe you want a complete analysis for your own specific crypto, or maybe you want to learn some decent TA in order to be able to make good money in the markets, you can become a member and ask me anything you want. And until the next update, I hope you have a wonderful time with your family and loved ones. Goodbye.